YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Carthage here, and I have a guest that I haven't had with me in a long time. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey guys, Ace Blizzard here. Long time old friend of Air. I haven't talked to him in a while. I'm here to test out some stuff with him.
Yeah, I don't think we've collaborated on anything since we did some Rome 1 videos, have we?
No, not since then.
Alright. Well, I will introduce you all to this test, and be it known that you've got two engineers on here, so this is probably reflective of our mindset. So I've been curious about missile mechanics. They've been changed some in patch 5, and I've mentioned it to you all in videos, but in patch 5 the shield plays a slightly different role. If I understand it right from what I've heard and read, the shield now has a chance of completely blocking a missile attack. And that chance, from what I've been told, depends on the shield value, which of course depends on the unit. And aesthetically, we would hope that that means units with smaller shields would have a lesser shield value, or maybe weaker shields of that such. So what we're going to do is some test here to unravel the mystery behind some of the missile mechanics. And we've got tests set up for all different kinds of situations. So first off, we've got some pikemen and pike phalanx. And we're going to test them up next to pikemen in the same depth that are not in pike phalanx. And the reason we're doing this is because when your men are not in pike phalanx, they hold their shield up when being fired upon. We have some units in hoplite phalanx right next to them, and we're doing this to see the difference between pikemen and hoplites. And we have one in phalanx, one that's not. The second test will consist of slingers firing into different flanks of a unit. We have the shield side flank represented right here. We've got the opposite of shield side flank here, so the side not being protected. And then we have one unit facing away from the slingers, which is not recommended. And then, just for fun, on the far left we have one unit in very thick ranks, very blocky formation. And we have another unit in very thin formation. And then, just for kicks and giggles, on the far right we have a hoplite unit in square formation, which I've not really seen anybody use successfully, but who knows. Maybe there's a trick to it. Ace, any thoughts before we go into this?
No, ready to go whenever you are.
So should we do like some Mythbuster-like predictions at the beginning of each test?
What do you have in mind?
So I'm thinking first test, and this is just my guess, because the phalanx units are holding their spears down and not raising their shields up, I think they're going to die faster.
I don't know, because it might just be aesthetic. If I'm looking at the stats correctly, I think the stats tell the story. So this will be interesting to see how it works.
Alright, Ace makes a good point. So which will it be? Why don't you just go ahead and start firing on the 4 units on my far left.
Alright, I shall go as fast as possible. Here we go. They are firing.
Alright, all units are firing. Initial volleys actually yielded some kills on the unit in phalanx and did not on the unit out of phalanx.
Nothing changed for the hoplites yet, is to be expected.
Yes, hoplites have better armor and shield, but the unit not in phalanx is actually the one taking damage. This is interesting. Not sure I see a rhyme or reason yet, but we'll let it keep going. Okay, so why don't you watch the hoplites, I'll watch the pikes. Right now the phalanx unit is faring marginally worse.
Huh. No change here.
So it's this, are they...
Oh, shield wall phalanx has taken quite a few hits.
Okay. So on the pikeman side, the non-phalanx is still faring better.
Pretty even over here, but so far just marginally better for the non-shield wall hoplites.
Now I'm going to show a visual cue on what the guys are doing with their shields. So here's the unit in phalanx. This is a pikeman unit. You can see them raising their shields. And this is the unit that's not, or that is in phalanx, and you can see their shields there at their side while they hold the sarissa. I think the question here is going to be repeatability.
Pretty much the same for the hoplites in shield wall. The ones in the back are kind of just looking around nonchalantly. So far, difference in 10 kills. Although it is remarkably even, who knows? It is only one test.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a marginal difference for being out of phalanx, but you're right, it's just one test. So we may need to see if this is repeatable.
For sure.
But we'll just let the slingers go until they either run out of ammo or kill the unit. And some of you might be thinking, Heir, why are you just sitting here showing us slingers shooting at these guys? If this is not your kind of video, I suppose that I give you the freedom to just pass on to some battle footage if you're just in this for the carnage. But if you're here to understand the game better, this is actually some really interesting stuff. And if you haven't tried it with one of your friends, you should definitely try this stuff because you can learn a lot about the game. So the pike units, the phalanx unit did rout first, but we are near a rout with the other unit. So not much difference, very marginal.
What'd you say, like maybe 5 to 10 second difference?
Yes.
Hey, you know what, that could be the difference between victory or defeat. I don't know, in a battle condition, that's pretty hard to, I don't know, take advantage of.
True. I'm sitting here looking at the hoplites. It seems to be pretty much the same story, just at a slower pace, which is expected due to the larger shield value and armor value. Sorry, it looks like there's a little bit of connection lag in the game here, folks. Might have to excuse that. Should clear up. This is interesting indeed, though. Or yeah, so they've still got ammo. How much ammo do they have left, just out of curiosity?
They would say about a third left. Huh, there is a bit of lag. It's a bit annoying.
Yeah, maybe I'll zoom out for a second, see if that helps. I doubt it, but...
Now we're running in slow-mo.
Yeah, slow-mo
It seems
lag.
to even out though, eh? 99 to 101.
Yeah, it is extremely close. So, I'm going to speak to it a little bit here, and if you have a different understanding or a better understanding of it, Ace, why don't you go ahead and say something about it. But the way I understand it, so a unit's health, I guess, is similar to hit points. The higher the
Yep.
health value, the more damage a unit can take before men start dropping. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so. I would actually venture to say health kind of models wounds and equipment wearing down. That's just my personal take.
It probably would be a good model for that. So, I mean, for instance, a unit with higher health may also help indicate, I guess, maybe better training or better equipment, something like that. It gives them a little longer lasting ability in a battle, maybe.
Which is why it can be important to soften up the enemy with missiles in the beginning, at least.
So this test is nearing completion, and to be quite honest, there is pretty much no real
They are
difference.
out of ammo.
Yeah. So
No,
two
I'm
min
not seeing
difference,
anything.
no real difference with hoplites, and what could be a circumstantial, whoops, I got the drawing tool turned on. What could be a circumstantial happening there with the other two units. I don't think the result really says that there's a benefit one way or the other. Maybe a very marginal benefit with your pikemen, but that's kind of speculation until it's repeatable.
Ooh, correct. We were seeing some differences in the beginning, but it evened out in the end for some reason.
So if it's repeatable, it makes one wonder if you're just trying to maybe get within range with your pikes. Maybe it would be better to leave them out of phalanx to the last second, but then that requires micro, and again, that's probably only if it's repeatable.
Alright, shall we move on to the next test?
Yes, so again, the next test is testing units being shot in the different flanks. We have the right flank, left flank, and the rear. Some of you, again, might be saying, why left flank and right flank? It's the same. It's not really, because they're carrying the shield on their left side. So here we'll find out whether or not, again, what Ace was speculating, which is that the stat is the stat, or if the aesthetics match the game mechanics.
No, I've definitely seen on the forums left and right values are different. I think Jack Lust had mentioned right and front. Is it left and front or left? Wherever they hold their shield, I think it was left. It definitely, the shield value applies there. So this should show it.
And thus far that appears to be true. And then the unit from the rear, Actually, he hasn't even taken as many casualties as the unit getting hit in the left. Or are they a volley behind?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, so it actually looks like your best flank to fire in if the test ends up holding out is the left flank.
I wonder if this has to do with enfilading fire running down the rank, eh? You know, like when you have a ship shoot into the boat, it goes across the whole length of the ship. Kind of the same idea here.
And you know what should help corroborate that is when we test the deep formation versus the thin formation.
But yeah, this is surprising. I didn't expect this type of thing.
Yeah, so I would say this is a substantial result here. So
for sure,
left flank is definitely weak. Right flank
I think the difference
can be strong.
Sorry. Actually, it would be left flank is strong, right flank is weak.
Yes.
If I'm looking at the shields correctly.
Good correction.
Yeah. Alright. Alright. I think we should move on to the next test.
Yes. I mean, getting shot in the back is never a good idea. I don't even really think that required testing, but there you go, just as a control. Alright, so again, for the folks watching, the next test is deep ranks, as you can see here, versus very thin ranks, as you can see here. Both facing head-on.
I definitely think the difference between the right flank attack and shooting behind, like straight behind, is the depth of the formation.
It very well could be. Because when you watch the stones come down, if it has anything to do with, you know, again, I'm looking at aesthetics, but as the stones come from the guys from behind, they were actually hitting their shields on the top. Like, a lot of the stones didn't necessarily have the trajectory necessary to avoid their shield, but, I mean, again, that's only if the aesthetics hold true.
If you do look at the thin line, a lot of the stones are missing over top, I think.
Maybe this will give people
some... formation's not looking good.
Yeah. Maybe this will give people some ideas in case you're facing a horde of cav spam. But then, of course, if you spread out into thin ranks, your bracing is going to be terrible. So.
For sure.
Let's see. There is a small difference between the two.
It is pretty even right now, actually. Although I am seeing a lot of stones overshoot, though.
So, the square is substantially worse than the other two, though.
Must be all those guys that have their backs turned.
I would think so. So you've got to be getting stones into the flanks of more men.
Although if you look at the people that are dying, it's the people in the front. So what does that tell you?
I don't know that this one makes any logical sense, to be honest. Ooh, that was brutal. I cannot wait till the gore pack comes out on Thursday. I don't know about you, but I'm excited for the gore pack. So, I used to actually sit around and think that if Total War had blood, that it would just be too much and almost make me sick. Right up until they released the blood pack for Shogun 2, and I just couldn't get enough of it. So.
No. It definitely adds a different element to the game. Visually, of course.
Of course, Shogun 2 is like very anime-type blood. So, it makes me wonder what the...
more realistic.
Yes, so maybe Rome 2 will have that horrid war feel to it, which would be interesting because, you know, it may really try and make the whole experience a little more visceral.
Or will they try to like replicate like Spartacus in 300 and go just all out, blood everywhere?
Yeah, how about that, like a 300 color theme pack where you can download it and it changes the colors.
And the blood just flying out like ribbons everywhere.
Yes.
So this is interesting. The long line is showing fairly better results than the thick line, yes. Although it's less pronounced.
All right,
than the square one who's already gone.
Yeah. So when under archer fire, or well, I guess in this case we can only say slinger fire. Sorry. Don't go into square formation. Long line is looking viable. So if you weren't worried about shock cav, or I wouldn't even think melee cav. Yeah, you wouldn't want melee cav into a long line either. But still, if you weren't worried about cav, this is pretty viable.
Yeah, I'd say so.
A unit of shot cav would probably destroy these guys.
You know where this would make a lot of sense in a missile/missile fight, long lines versus a deep line.
Yes, so like missile on missile then.
Yes.
So spreading your missiles into the longest possible line, but I wonder how that affects their volley, whether their volley falls the same or not.
We might have to test that out.
Yes.
And I'm just about out of ammo, probably like maybe 4 to 5 more shots, I'd say, or 2, 3.
So I think one thing's pretty apparent here, though, is that even these relatively cheap hoplites are extremely resistant to missile fire. Because Balearic slingers are what, the second best slingers on the game?
I think so, if not the best.
I know Rhodian slingers are also quite good, but I don't guess I'm exactly familiar with which one has better stats, if either one has better stats.
No, I haven't taken a strict look. I venture to say Rhodians, I think they're a bit more expensive.
Well, that was an interesting test. So let's recap the results real quick. So in the phalanx versus non-phalanx, no real difference. You want to recap the results of the flank shots?
Flank shots, interestingly, right flank shots, shooting into the right flank, made them rout a lot faster, got a lot more casualties. Left flank, more resistant, because the shields are on the left arm, and then in the back, not a very good idea, but it is a bit, looks like it's a bit better than shooting into the right flank.
So this is
getting
nuts.
shot in the right flank.
It is better to actually turn your back to the enemy, rather than to give them your non-shield side. So, wow.
Granted, formation depth works out.
True.
I'd say.
Yeah, and see, that's a factor here that's somewhat corrupting. We would almost need to put these guys at the same formation depth, which would just be weird. So, alright, well, I'll recap the ones on the end. Long, thin line appears to be substantially better than blocky formation, and square formation can be summed up in one word, which is no. So, don't use it.
Square of death, really.
Yes. Alright, well I think that just about sums it up for this missile test. I'm sure we'll be back with some more now that we've raised even more questions.